My Girl Life podcast is sponsored by Glamour Boutique. Glamour Boutique is the leading name in cross-dressing fashion and lifestyle with a physical location in New Jersey and, of course, their famous website. Be sure to use your My Girl Life discount code MGL15. And listen, I know they have your best interests at heart, so check them out. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Tuck and Tell. Tuck and Tell is a solo video version of My Girl Life podcast. Are you addicted to cross-dressing? You know, there's a meaningful difference between being addicted to cross-dressing and expressing cross-dressing as a natural, healthy part of oneself. The distinction lies in motivation, emotional impact, personal control, and how it integrates into one's life. So let's talk about the differences between an addiction and a healthy habit, or in this case, expression of oneself. Number one, motivation and purpose. Addiction attributes would be driven by compulsive behaviors, urges, or impulses, often linked to stress relief or escaping emotional distress, may involve repetitive, ritualistic acts with increasing frequency or intensity to achieve satisfaction. Healthy expression attributes would be driven by authentic self-expression, comfort, and identity. Feels natural, enjoyable, fulfilling, and affirming. It's motivated by genuine desire rather than avoidance or emotional numbing. So for me, it definitely started out aligning with the addiction attributes more so than the healthy ones. Now, when I first started at the age of 9, 10, or 11, I can't remember why I did it, and I probably had no idea at the time why I was doing it. It could very well have been some of the addictive factors. I never felt the urge to dress from those ages until way later in life. So when I started later in life, those attributes definitely describe the drivers for my dressing, but I wasn't cognizant of these factors until a few years later. The escaping and relieving emotional stress, urges, and impulses, and it being mostly sexual in those early days definitely applied to my dressing. I also recognized the increase in frequency and intensity to achieve satisfaction. Definitely was part of it. However, I have progressed to a point to where I dress for more healthy attributes than the addictive ones, and I'll explain. The motivating factors changed when I took on my identity, which is Maddie Taylor, when I started making friends and living out somewhat of a normal life as Maddie. Yes, it was an alter ego, but it became very real when I had friends, places to be, responsibilities, accountability to others, making emotional connections, learning that you're not the only one doing this, and most importantly of all, doing the mental work to understand it all. It helped me become comfortable at dressing and eventually being proud of my dressing, being proud of Maddie as a person and her professional career as a podcast host. With all that being said, I would be lying if I said none of the addictive factors are present currently. However, they are few and far between and mostly passing thoughts, and to be honest, sometimes I just laugh at myself and move on. Okay, so let's go back to the different attributes of addiction versus healthy expression. Number two, control and compulsivity. Addiction attributes would be little to no sense of personal control, experiencing distress, guilt, or shame after dressing. Cross-dressing may feel uncontrollable, with difficulty moderating or choosing not to engage. Healthy expression attributes would be individual retains control over when, how, and why they cross-dress, doesn't interfere negatively with daily life, responsibilities, relationships, or emotional well-being. The behavior can be comfortably integrated into life as it is flexible rather than compulsive. So for me, again, I can totally relate to the addiction attributes here in my early years of dressing, not so much the losing of self-control, but the guilt and shame which leads to purging. And I purged several times, like 100% purged, and then of course I went back to it. Also, the desire to do it more often and push limits like going out in public and talking to people, etc., those were definitely at play. Then in the second or third year or so, the healthy attributes started to appear and eventually became a much more accurate depiction of what role my dressing played in my life. Attributes like retaining control over when, how, and why I dress, not interfering with daily life and responsibilities or relationships. Also, emotionally speaking, I was much more comfortable with it. Number 3, impact on life and relationships. Addiction attributes would be potentially negative impact on personal, professional, and social areas of your life. It could lead to secrecy, isolation, or strained relationships. May create feelings of shame, anxiety, or isolation. Healthy expression attributes would be cross-dressing is integrated into one's identity without negative consequences, encourages open communication and honesty with oneself and possibly others, enhances confidence, comfort, and emotional well-being. Now, for me, this area is complicated, so there definitely is secrecy and a little isolation, as I have not come out to everyone. I have come out to most of my family and most close friends. Most of my current friends met me as Maddie in the first place, so there was no need to come out. If anything, coming out to them was introducing them to me as a boy. In terms of secrecy, the biggest stressor for me is the fact that my 2 boys don't know, and at some point, I need to tell them. I want to tell them for many reasons, but mainly I want to be the one to tell them so I can control the narrative. I don't want them to find out on their own and think it's something that is shameful and wrong and something that I really don't want to do, but I'm compulsed to do it. I want them to know that my dressing has been one of the best experiences of my life. I did a whole episode called Deeper Well, where I explained how I found a deeper well in cross-dressing. I said it felt like I was walking around life with a box of 8 crayons and somebody handed me a box of 32. Anyway, if you want to learn more about that, look up my episode called Maddie Taylor Bears Her Soul. I found a deeper well in cross-dressing. Okay, so back on track here. I also sometimes feel shame or anxiety about my dressing, but again, it's pretty rare, and if I do, it's really just a passing thought, and usually happens when I've been around the general population who do not know about Maddie and who are living a normal life with their spouses or partners, and here I am single and dressing like a girl on weekends, and sometimes I go home and feeling a little shame or guilt. But again, those feelings don't last very long, and they don't go very deep and never drive my behavior. And for every one of these moments, I have 100 that are pure positive. So for the last 4 or 5 years, the healthy attributes are front and center for Maddie. Integrating cross-dressing into one's identity without negative consequences, encouraging open communication and honesty with oneself and others, enhancing confidence, comfort, and emotional well-being are great descriptors of how my dressing fits into my life and how it's mostly a healthy expression of my true self. Number 4, emotional health and self-acceptance. Addiction attributes would be typically associated with self-rejection, shame, or fear of judgment. May reflect deeper unresolved emotional struggles or issues around identity or sexuality. Healthy expression attributes would be associated with self-acceptance, emotional health, authenticity, and positive identity formation. Allows personal growth exploration and emotional satisfaction. So for me, these attributes are complicated. While I do not feel self-rejection or shame, I definitely sometimes fear judgment by others. Not telling my kids is a prime example. There are others that I fear might judge me if they knew, but all the important people in my life, again, except for my kids, know about Maddie because I didn't want to isolate from them. And yes, I could have kept it a secret and not isolated, but I felt like I was growing apart from them by not sharing something that was so important in my life. And so I decided to tell those people. And guess what? It made us even closer. I can also identify with the attributes of personal growth, exploration, and emotional satisfaction. Again, I go into great detail in my Deeper Well episode, but I am absolutely grateful for the personal growth I've experienced dressing and wouldn't trade it for anything. As for the unresolved emotional struggles, I have analyzed my dressing every which way to Sunday, and while I have figured out some of why I dress, I still don't fully understand it and probably never will. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, my dressing experiences have been 99% positive, and in my book, that's a healthy thing. Number 5, long-term outcomes. Addiction attributes would be generally leads to negative outcomes if not addressed, including increased distress or dysfunction. May require support, therapy, or counseling to restore balance. Healthy expression attributes would be leads to personal empowerment, fulfillment, and emotional balance, usually sustainable without needing external intervention or professional support. In my experience with dressing, it definitely falls into the healthy expression category. Can't say I have any negative outcomes from dressing. Now, don't get me wrong, it hasn't been perfect. But like I said, it's been 99% positive. I've done some therapy, but it was really driven by curiosity as to why I'm doing these things, even though I feel I'm doing them in a healthy way. And while I did uncover some of the whys, it was mostly just cathartic to share my thoughts with a therapist. Personally, I think the world would be a better place if everybody had access to some therapy on a regular basis. So let's summarize here. Signs that cross-dressing is healthy and natural for you. It feels authentic, affirming, and comfortable. It integrates smoothly into your life without causing distress. Enhances your self-worth, happiness, and emotional balance. It's done freely without compulsion or guilt. Signs that cross-dressing might be addictive or compulsive. You struggle to control the urge, spend excessive amounts of time and resources on it. You feel anxiety, guilt, shame, or emotional pain afterwards. You purge, etc. It negatively impacts relationships, work, or personal responsibilities. It is tied to emotional escape or avoidance rather than personal authenticity. Now, I think escape can be a healthy part of life as long as it's done in a controlled and temporary fashion, just like escaping to a vacation or your favorite camping spot or hiking or meditation or whatever. We all need some temporary escapes to keep us sane. I think you get the idea. In conclusion, cross-dressing itself isn't inherently problematic or harmful. The key issue is the underlying motivation and the impact on one's life. If cross-dressing is aligned with your authentic self and improves your emotional health, it's likely a natural, positive expression of identity. If it's causing distress, dysfunction, or feels compulsive, exploring underlying emotional issues or seeking support can be beneficial. I can say that I've witnessed people dressing whom I think are running from their boy life because they hate their boy life. For whatever reasons, I think they think cross-dressing or even transitioning is the answer, but those are bad reasons to dress or transition, and what they're doing is jumping from the frying pan into the fire. Anyway, I hope that helps some people understand and deal with their cross-dressing. Feel free to reach out to me, and also don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, as it tells me I'm doing something good and it allows me to keep doing it. And remember, be bold, be kind, be you.